I sometimes find it unfortunate that Destiny is the go-to sometimes with like sexual things on Twitch. He's far more competent than most people, but you know, like this guy has the words to explain problems that I think Destiny is only capable of hinting at. And one thing is this understanding of boundaries. If you don't understand your boundaries, your partner can't respect those boundaries. And like, it's just damage control once you both stumble across one. And I think that boundaries are a helpful other term to use when talking about some of these interactions that go south between men and women, or men and women, or, you know, NBs and NBs, whatever. Some of the bad interactions that people have that they interpret one way or the other, or they give labels onto that we're not comfortable being outside of the situation, as deeming grooming or deeming sexual assault or sexual harassment or rape or all these other things. I think that the use of boundaries as a term could just vastly improve the conversations. I really wish he would talk about that stuff on Twitch, not necessarily Steven, but that's just me. I think he talks about boundaries just fine. But he wants to be a performer, dude, and he wants to rage, and he wants to complain, and he wants to bitch and whine about people that are acting stupid. And in doing so, he really fucks up the conversation around things. This really came to a point for me when watching him talk with Silly Serious for 2 hours. Like, you have someone in front of you more than capable of having these conversations, but you choose not to because they're boring for you to have. You choose not to because it's more performative and more rewarding to attack people that have the wrong ideas about these things or malformed ideas about these things. And I get that from a content creator perspective. I understand and I empathize with that, and I try to always include that in my criticisms of people when I see that that's a dimension that we should look at. It's better content to focus on the people getting stuff wrong all the time. But he also doesn't do a good job when he's confronted with somebody capable of talking about these things and talking about them in a mature level, at an adult level. He doesn't like engage in those conversations super well. Constantly throughout the Silly Serious conversation, he's jumping to people with ideas that Silly doesn't hold. He's jumping to ideas that are not good, and he knows they're not good, and that's why he's bringing them up, instead of just like trying to form some kind of reasonable, coherent dialogue with Silly, you know? And I think he does a little bit more towards the end of their conversation with each other, but it's frustrating to me how much footwork Silly had to put into that conversation to even arrive at that point. I talked a little bit with her in the chat before about how I really like her concession. Come on. I've accrued a debt. Now you need to give me a concession. She's really good at balancing, like, I agree with you on this, and I could totally agree with this, and people definitely do this, but you gotta admit that blah, 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 blah. And she gives a lot. She gives a ton just so that she can get a little bit back. And she's good at handling that kind of transaction with Steven in that particular conversation. But it just feels bad that she has to do that much work. She has to do so much work when both of them could have had a good conversation about these things. And I just think that his laser focus on people with the wrong ideas creates conversations that are always at level 1 or 2. Now, there are times when he talks about his own personal experiences that I think he does a really good job, because he goes into the details of things. But man, when he's handling like dissenting opinions and stuff, he just does not flesh out what the conversation could be. It's like he points out an amorphous problem that we have to be doomer about without really providing good solutions, and that kind of bothers me. And let me clarify, because like I keep seeing the fucking chat out of the corner of my eye and you guys are triggering the fuck out of me. What I'm trying to say is that when Steven has the opportunity to speak to the people that need to hear this information about like sexual interactions or whatever, he fumbles the opportunity every single time in favor of being more performative. There are times when he explains things very well, yes, but that's when he's on his own. It's often when he's talking with other people or when he's addressing an audience of people that have bad takes on these things or misunderstand these things that he fumbles the opportunity to teach them about it. That he takes those opportunities as the ones to be performative and over the top and to just scold these people and to not give good alternatives. And what's ironic is those are the moments where you probably need to bring out the best takes that you have and the best arguments that you have, because these people need a path forward from point A to point D. And you got to give that to them. You got to show them the path forward. You got to tell them about B and about C and eventually about D. But you can't just tell them A is wrong and D is right. You can't just like Like that's what bothers me, because he's capable of doing that, but he chooses not to. And a lot of the conversations and a lot of the times where he has a spotlight on him where he could, I think, do more good with that. And that's what disappoints me. And then it disappoints me that that's what people look to for this kind of advice and stuff. I don't think people look at Destiny's videos where he does a good job at this. I think they look at the videos where he's being dramatic and arguing with people on Twitter and stuff like that. That's what I think that people actually view. And that's what's unfortunate to me. I see you guys like, actually, he's talked about boundaries really good before. Like, yeah, he has. Let me be clear. He has. I'm saying that he doesn't when I think that it's important that he does, okay? And that when he faces people that are at like level 1, he's very bad at being able to guide them to like level 20. I feel like you might be trying to mold Destiny into someone he's not. I'm sorry, is Destiny in here with me? Do I have my fucking fingers in his fucking eye sockets trying to mold his fucking brain into something I want it to be? No. Like, I'm not even talking to him right now. I'm on my own stream. I'm giving commentary. Like, and even if I did have him in front of me, I was trying to convince him to do a better job. Fuck you if you're fucking characterizing it that way. Molding him into being someone he's not. How about being someone that's a little bit better? That's Destiny 2.0. That's Destiny plus. You know, like, it's just such a negative fucking way that you've looked at things, you know? Like, I don't know. I don't appreciate that kind of wording, because I hear that a lot, because I try to give people advice. People are always like, that's not how the person is or whatever, you know? It gets frustrating to hear, because it's like, I'm not suggesting that they entirely change the person that they are. I'm suggesting that they be more responsible in some of their conversations, or giving them advice to have a more of a conversation along the lines of what they want to do, or to be more productive. Like, everything is a means to help that person do better. It's not necessarily to change them as a person or change them fundamentally in some way. Like, adjusting your communication style is not changing the person that you are. It's not forcing you to become something that you're not. It's to improve your ability to communicate ideas which you already hold, right? I didn't at any point say that Destiny needs to change his opinions on these things. I said that Destiny needs to get better at communicating that in situations where it's important, in situations where people are listening who are not privy to his beliefs, or when people are so far behind that they need to be caught up with why you believe the things that you believe, right? I've drank urine from like a cup.